Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co hosts. I'm Casey.
I'm Sam. Let's get screaming.
And on this episode, we are joined by two very special guests. They are the hosts of the Screams from the Basement podcast and the Bad Signal podcast, Sam Lenz and Casey Kelderman.
Casey and Sam are also the coordinators of the Vermilion Vortex Film Festival, the Screams by Night Halfway to Halloween Horror Con, hosts to Late Night at the State. What can't these two do? Welcome to the show, Casey and Sam.
Woo! Welcome.
Thanks, Casey and Sam. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to finally be on the Screams from the Basement podcast. I've been a longtime listener, first time caller.
We're interviewing ourselves.
We'll get back to the gimmick in a second because we are going to actually interview each other and ourselves. Yeah. It's going to be a weird metatextual episode of Screams from the Basement.
Yeah,
we had a couple interviews unfortunately fall through here in the last two of them in the last month or so unfortunately fall through, which happens when the holidays come up. Schedules just don't end up lining up. This one is of course going to fall right smack dab in the middle between Christmas and New Year's, so it's just a weird time. But I don't know, we've promised an episode every single Friday. We have a schedule to adhere to, and we're going to stick to it, damn it.
So we're just talking amongst ourselves, talking about the projects that we've had in 2024, talking about the projects we have coming up in 2025. And maybe this will be illuminating, and maybe you'll be like, you asked all the wrong questions. We'll probably do an Ask Me Anything somewhere down the line at some point. So you'll get your chance. We did one very early on in the show, and that was back when we had like very few followers, and it still went pretty well. I thought like we got a pretty decent response. So
yeah, we'll definitely do another ask us anything. Maybe even on the Patreon might be a good place for that, where we can be a little more candid about stuff. But we'll be candid on this one. We'll peel back. We'll peel that proverbial curtain back on this episode. And the first thing I'm going to ask Sam, as we start off this interview, where we interview each other and ourselves, how was 2024 for you overall from January 2024? And here we are in the last weekend of 2024. How do you feel this year went?
You know what? I feel like this year was kind of incredible. This was the year that I feel like this podcast really took off. In so many ways, we expanded what we were doing quite a bit. We appeared at some cons. We not only did we run the SuperCon Film Fest, which we've been doing before this podcast even existed, but we helped launch a new one in Vermilion, the Vermilion Vortex Film Festival. We interviewed some huge names this year that I didn't think we'd ever have the chance to. This year is kind of a dream come true, which is just, it's weird because I feel like I've been a moody bitch all year because just like I don't know, just like personally, like I'm just like 2024, what a year. Like, but when I think back on it, I'm like, no, so much cool shit happened. You know what I mean? It's like one of those weird things. I love it. What about you, Casey? How do you feel 2024 has gone?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think this has been easily the biggest year of the podcast. I think it's easily been the biggest year we've ever had in terms of living in this movie space that you and I have been a part of for half a decade plus now. Between the two of us, I mean, it's been such a big year for Screams in the Basement. It's allowed us to expand to other opportunities. Like you said, we appeared at a couple conventions this year. We started hosting Late Night at the State, which just started, this year. We had our massive September that we've talked endlessly about. That massive September that we had with 2 film festivals, a screening of Nosferatu, a horror con, late nights at the State. We had so much that September, and that's a month that's just going to stick with me forever of like that was just the coolest thing and something it's amazing that we were able to pull off. And yeah, 2024 I think has been such an amazing year. We've gotten to launch a second podcast. We've launched The Bad Signal with Bad Hand Books.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've expanded, and something I was worried about with expanding to multiple different things was wearing ourselves out and wearing ourselves thin.
Yeah.
And I don't I haven't felt that at all because this doesn't feel like work. Work
Yeah.
work feels like work. The jobs that we have that pay our bills because spoilers, Screens from the Basement does not pay any bills at all.
No, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, we're still in the, like, we're not making anything off this.
No,
Everything that every dollar that comes into Screams goes back into Screams. Like,
yeah,
it's, there's no salary for what we're doing here.
not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe in 2025 when we talk about I don't know.
Hey,
But
2025 might be. We've got some big things planned. Yeah.
we do. And yeah, I don't feel like I don't ever feel like this is work. Like I said, work
No.
feels like work and I feel I'm at the point where if people ask me what I do for a living, I start to question it in terms of do do I do marketing for a family medicine clinic or do I host Screams from the Basement, all the other cool stuff we do with that?
Yeah. Like,
I'm at that point where I'm like, well, the one makes money and pays for my bills and insurance and stuff versus something I also spend 40 hours a week on that
yeah.
is like the passion project.
I feel like it's become a thing where, I don't like talking about my day job because my day job is literally just a way to make money. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. It's so I can pay my bills, so I can do this kinda stuff. And whenever I'm feeling worn out or burnt out, like, I mean, it is the massive amount of stuff that we have that we've been doing, but it's not because of that stuff. It's because of everything else that you have to kind of juggle with that.
It's
Um
because we work 45 hours a week at a
Mhm.
normal job
Yeah,
and
and
then
then
add multiple
yeah,
projects on top of that. Yeah. Yeah.
so that does get exhausting at times. I'm really looking forward to this holiday, getting a little bit more time off and really kicking up my feet and catching up on some of the horror that I haven't gotten to this year, and yeah, it'll be a nice recharge of the batteries, so hopefully when, because we're hitting, I mean, we didn't stop running. We're still going. So, like, we're gonna keep running straight through January. Like, we've got a busy January ahead of ourselves. We've got it, I mean, and it's just gonna keep getting busier because we have goals for this and we want
Mhm.
to achieve those. So, yeah, I
All right.
guess yeah, recharge the batteries. It's nice.
It's nice. It's nice. We need it. I think January will be a little January, February is always pretty slow, at least in terms of stuff going on in South Dakota. So I feel like we're gonna have a nice, like, I guess, focus on just the podcast portion of what we do.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
also
very
on top of
much.
that, we're planning a horror convention. We're gonna
Yeah,
be announcing stuff for Vermilion in the
yep,
new year. We'll still have late nights at the state. So maybe all the stuff I just said about us recharging in January,
yeah.
February, that's not gonna happen, is it?
I was
Yeah.
about to say, every time I think, I mean, for the longest time when we were in the thick of it this year, I was like, "Well, it's okay, November will happen and things will just slow down, and December will happen and things will and, like, things have just not slowed down at all." And yeah, it's it's a great feeling. It's just, yeah, I just don't have any plans of stopping.
Yeah, we ain't gonna
There
stop. We're not gonna
there's
stop.
there's
I'm gonna
no
use
stop
this.
sign in sight.
I'm gonna use this as a point to jump to our first ad read of the show
Yeah, yeah.
on here because, like we said, we don't make money on this, but there is a way you guys can help us at least recuperate some of our costs that it does to have the podcast. That's why we're going to jump to our first ad read of the episode from our friends at Fangoria. Fangoria, for over 40 years, has been the leading source for all things horror, mystery, macabre, and so much more. And the famed magazine is back with a vengeance, with new quarterly magazines dropping every quarter that you can pick up. And so you can use our affiliate link or our affiliate link code to save yourself 20% on your subscription to the magazine, back orders of the mag. You can use it on merch and so much more. All you got to do is go to shop.fangoria.com/screens from the basement, or scan that QR code that appears on your screen right here, or click the link down in the episode description and use promo code Screams from the Basement on Fangoria, shop.fangoria.com. Again, thanks to Fangoria for helping us keep the lights on in the basement.
Yeah. So Casey, we've talked a little bit about, how busy we've been, how busy we're remaining. We have a lot of things in the works, including a halfway to Halloween con, which we've been talking about for years now.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the second year of Vortex, which the first one was a massive success. So we have a big, if we're going to try and top this, we have massive shoes to fill. And I think we can do it. No, I know we can do it. But out of all of this stuff, like, we're gonna be doing late nights at the State, like, I'm sure plenty of other things will pop up because they always do. We're continuing to work with Bad Hand Books, which is growing and getting bigger and bigger and getting higher profile authors by the day, it seems. What excites you the most about going into 2025?
Honestly, the thing that excites me the most, something we just talked about, is that we're never not busy.
Yeah.
And like, that can be a blessing in disguise, or the opposite of that, of, oh no, we're going to overwork ourselves. Again, like I said, I don't feel like we've gotten to that. And I think each time when I'm sitting behind my computer doing my desk job, I always think, okay, what's the next Screams thing that we're going to be doing? Okay, I have a late night to look forward to this Friday. I have an interview to look forward to next Tuesday. I have halfway to Halloween in a month, stuff like that. Something to keep moving forward and progressing to. And I think that's something I'm looking forward to the most in 2025, is that we're just going to have more and more stuff that's just going to help grow us as podcasters, us as event hosts, us as interviewers, us as hosts in a live setting.
Yeah.
I think us coordinating events and hosting a film festival, I think all these things are going to continue to grow on top of each other, as they have done for the last number of years that we've been doing this podcast and all the stuff outside of it as well. I think we continue to grow on top of each thing that we do. We use it as building blocks in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think everything we do kind of works in tandem with each other. Like, we're always, I mean, if it's not an interview on the podcast or commenting on a movie, like what we're doing right now, it's doing that in front of an audience, doing that in a live setting, or, just appreciating film and the filmmaking process in so many different ways. Like, to me, a post-screening Q&A at, like, Vortex Film Festival is different than a half an hour interview we do on this podcast. Like, there are different arts to both of those things, and I think we continue to get better at all of those, especially doing, like, all of it and not limiting ourselves to one particular thing.
Yeah, on that point of hosting Q&As afterwards, same with late nights at the State. I feel like we've gotten so much better at doing those. I know we were pretty damn nervous those first couple times, and I think people could, I don't know necessarily if they could tell, at least we could tell,
A few
And
of our friends could tell, but they
yeah,
also know us, and I think they, they're maybe more tuned in to, like, us than, like, the average person that was there might be,
yeah,
because, yeah, Terror Vision, the first one that we did, yeah, we were talking a little fast, it's fun to watch those videos and see how we've improved over the year or over just the last 6 months.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean, that takes repetition of doing it constantly in front of people and
yep,
building. I know you and I have chemistry on a podcast, but again, like you said, that's
mhm,
different than you and I being on stage or in front of 150 people in the State Theater or 100 people in the Vermilion Theater. All that stuff is very different. You have different
mhm,
audiences, different ways you're portraying yourself or your guest. When you're on stage, it's very, I don't know, there's a sense of like you need to be entertaining, I guess, or have some
yeah,
sort of entertainment factor and keeping the audience engaged, not just having a conversation with your guests, which is very important, but also engaging the audience and
mhm.
getting them engaged in what the guest is saying.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, with a live audience, you really have to you're not just thinking about your guest, you're not just thinking about, like, what you're saying, you're thinking, like, "What what am I bringing to these people, and what are they giving back to me?" Like, you have to have that give and take, otherwise, people are just waiting for you to shut the hell up and play the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like we're pretty good at reading audiences and knowing like, there have been a few times where we've just kinda gone through quick and let the movie roll, and then there are times that we've, hung out a little bit longer and had some fun with it, and,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just I don't know, like you said, repetition makes it so much easier.
Okay. My follow up question to that then.
'Kay.
I want an answer for both of these. I'll give mine too. What is your favorite interview this year that we've done on the podcast, whether that's Screams or The Bad Signal? What's your favorite live interview that we've done? Either a post-screening Q&A, panel, etc.
Live is live, I feel like, is kind of easy. It's Doug Jones at the State, and I part of me part of that is just I mean, full disclosure, like, I don't know if you even want me to say this on the podcast, but before that Doug Jones thing, we were nervous as shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, we
we we literally in the car ride up to the state, we're going like, "Something's gonna go wrong tonight, and we're just gonna deal with it. It'll be fine. Something's gonna go awful. Something is gonna derail this whole" like, and it was just
yeah,
and we'll make it through, and nothing happened. The night went as smoothly as it possibly could, but, like, I mean, full disclosure, this year has been a year of a lot of, like, weird anxiety and panic attacks for me, and I had a massive panic attack right before we left for that interview. So for that to just, like, go off without a hitch and end up being, like, one of the best nights that I've had this year, that one just not just the fact that it was Doug Jones, but the fact that, like, it was just a ride, like, yeah, that one to me is hands down. Podcast, that is tough. That is tough. We have interviewed, like I mean, every interview we do for The Bad Signal has been incredible.
mhm,
Our Screams from the Basement guests are always great. There are so many different, like, entertainment value ones. I'm gonna just rattle off a few, like, I loved our Eric LaRocca Bad Signal, our
yeah,
Laird interview, our Zoya Stage one, like, those 3 I think were really, like those ones I feel like connected to, like, with the people that listen to them a lot, like, I heard a lot of feedback about those ones in particular. Um, we interviewed novelist Joshua Milliken, who, just
yeah,
did the Chopping Mall novelization. We should definitely have him back on the show sometime. He was so fun for his book, Teleportasm, which was also just a gnarly good time. The guy lit up on the podcast and everything. It was fun. Um And, yeah, that one was great. Our Barbie and Kendra interview with, Cody Cameron
Wild.
and
That was
Robin
the most
Sidney.
wild interview we've ever done.
That one to me is just, like, anytime you say, like, maybe not favorite, but what's the most memorable interview? Like, that's always gonna be there at the forefront of my mind because that one was great. Just the technical difficulties that ensued throughout, um, Robin Sidney literally being in the back of a cab going through New York with her mom, who was just chatting with the cabbie the whole time in the background, like, insane interview, so much fun. You gotta watch the YouTube video for the full effect. Um, and there's, another huge one that I know you'll talk about because, so what's your favorite interviews that we've done for the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, we've done, like you said, this was this our first full year of doing interviews every other week, right?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we had started by this point. I think we had started in January doing 1 a
yep,
week, so
yeah. So this was our first full year of doing interviews every other week. I mean, what a God, what a huge year that we had. There's two that
mhm.
stick in my mind a bit on the, I guess,
Yeah,
surreal or like I can't believe we're already interviewing these people.
yeah, there's
One
one that
one
I even forgot to mention that I'm thinking you're probably talking about.
is it one well, one of them was we interviewed Mark Torgel, the original
Yeah,
Toxic Avenger, for the 40th anniversary of that film.
yeah,
Super cool. He was amazing,
he was so
candid
nice.
about everything about making that classic.
Yeah,
That was so much fun. That was amazing. Again,
that was
never in a
also the
million years.
interview that got me to watch Toxic Avenger for the first time, and it was great.
Mhm. Expect more trauma on the podcast in 2024. I think that's Full Moon was a big one in 2020, excuse me, in 2024. Expect more trauma in 2025. I think we
Yep.
gotta break into the trauma camp a little bit more. And then obviously the other one for me is like my number one person that we could interview. We interviewed already 2 years into the less than 2 years into the show,
Yeah.
and that's Charles Band. We got the
Yep.
man himself behind Full Moon Entertainment. He gave us almost 40 minutes of his time to chat about the new Barbie and Kendra movie,
Mhm.
right? That's what we
Yep.
had. Yeah, it
That's what we
was
had
like
him on for
it
'cause
wasn't
he
Quadrant, right? Yeah, it was.
no, 'cause
But that
he
led. I mean,
recommended Barbie and, he recommended
yeah,
Cody and, Robin at the end of that,
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, we got the man himself, Charles Band. He was amazing. Like that
Yeah.
was surreal. Would love to have him back next year to talk about what Full Moon's got going on in 2025. That would be amazing. And I mean, that led to speaking of like building blocks, we built again, we interviewed previous Full Moon people, and then that led us to Charles Band. But
Mhm.
from Charlie, we got Robin and Cody on for
Mhm.
Barbie and Kendra. We got C. Courtney Joyner on to talk about
Yeah.
Quadrant and all the other work that Courtney did with Full Moon. So
And we had Billy Butler
we
on,
had Billy
uh,
Butler on this
that
year.
was
Yeah.
that was such a fun one, like, we really, like and it's hard to single out episodes because honestly, just about every interview we do, we sign off of it and it's like, "That was great. That
Yeah.
was so much fun." Like, I don't know. I don't know if we do something different because, like, I see a lot of podcasters that have, like, interview horror stories and things like that, and I don't have really any of those. Like,
Mm-mm.
no one every interview has been so kind and so gracious with their time and generous with their answers, and, like, I don't know if that's just us and people feel comfortable opening up to us, or if we've just been extremely lucky with guests. It's probably a mixture of both, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to single them out, but all of those episodes are ones that really do stick out in my mind.
Yeah. For live ones, though, I'm gonna go with our two that we did at Vortex. I think the ones we did with Andrew Keitlinger after Lost
Yeah.
on a Mountain in Maine, and then Anthony Cousins after Frogman. I think those were so much fun, especially Lost on a Mountain in Maine, where we weren't necessarily out of our elements, but like we're known as the horror guys now.
Yeah. So that was a very different type of movie to do a Q&A for.
Yeah, on a family adventure drama,
Yeah.
and
But
it was so good. Andrew is one of the best people you can interview. He knows how to tell stories that people want to hear. He gives you so much about the filmmaking process. He was amazing, and then Anthony was just as amazing,
yeah.
especially with the crowd who I was very nervous because obviously you and I think we deciphered like we were the only ones that had watched the movie.
Yeah. I think if there was anybody in that crowd that had previously watched Frogman, you could have counted them on one hand.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And the
Um,
crowd, I mean, that crowd ate it up. They were having a blast. They were cheering at the right moments in the third act. Like the crowd was super into it, and Anthony
yeah.
was very grateful for the crowd, as he sat in on that last, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes he said he sat in there on. So
Yeah.
that was so much fun. And the interview was just as incredible. That
Yeah.
whole weekend was amazing.
Oh, yeah. I also got to do, like, an extended Q&A at, like,
On the
2 in the
car
morning on the
home.
car ride home. Yeah, it was great. Um, yeah. Andrew and Anthony, they were
Did
class
you
acts that weekend, and
Did
it
you
was
tell
fantastic.
Anthony if he needs some podcasters to talk about Frogman and Frogman 2, he can
Yeah.
hit us up.
Yeah. Um, I wanna have him back on the pod, especially now that, like, we really know him, you know?
Mhm.
He's awesome. He's such a cool guy.
I know he does have that other short that premiered that same weekend at
That
Fantastic Fest, right?
he told me all about it on the car ride back to Sioux Falls, and, like, that short sounds fucking wild. Uh, yeah, we should totally have him on to talk that short.
Yeah, definitely. And, tell him he needs to, give it to us for Vortex too.
Yes. Um,
Do you have another question to throw out here? Otherwise, I got one more on my list.
I was gonna do an ad read, and then do you wanna do the final question?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Are you looking for that extra buzz while watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? How about melting your mind while watching a David Cronenberg movie? Turp Boys Delta 8, 9, and THCA gummies, vapes, chocolates, and more has you covered. This plant-based product is made from the purest organic hemp-based extracts and backed by third-party laboratories. You can visit buyturpboys.com/screams from the basement pod and use promo code screams from the basement pod at checkout to save 10% on your order.
Thank you, Chirp Boys.
Yeah.
And I have two questions because we can't leave an interview off without a double feature question. Like
Yeah.
I dubbed us the king of double features on the
Yeah.
last episode. We're gonna live up to that. I'll end with that one, but I got one more.
Okay.
Sam, give us one of your biggest goals for 2025.
Biggest goal for 2025.
Or one of them. One of them that
One
you're
of
like,
them.
this needs to be accomplished in from January 1st to December 31st in 2025.
The throwaway answer is that I wanna complete the, holy trinity of Frank Henenlotter Late Nights at the State and finally host Frankenhooker. Um, that's a silly goal that I've set for myself, and I think with Steven's help, it will happen.
It's
Um,
gonna It's gonna happen.
I'm
Steven, we
very
that's one of
excited.
Sam's goals for the year. We need to make this happen.
Yeah, it has to happen now. I've put it out into the world. Um, no, I think I wanna get more comfortable on the business side of things because I feel like you're very good at things like tracking down sponsors and doing things like that, and I've always been wildly uncomfortable with that stuff for whatever reason, I don't know, and I would like to do more of that behind the scenes, I like being the guy that, like, draws the posters and stuff like that, but I could be more, and so there's a little bit of that. Um, I not to sound cocky, but I already do really well in front of a live audience, so I don't need to work on that.
Listen, it's your improv background that helps a lot.
Yeah,
That
it
I
is. I was a
I ha-
theater kid,
that I
so
haven't channeled into since high school. So I'm trying to play catch up on yours. So
yeah, no, you're doing great. We have a good live chemistry. We really do.
yeah, I Sam, we have good chem.
We have good chem.
We have good chem.
We
Sabrina Carpenter would say we had good chem.
have
Um,
What about you? What are your Wait, did you ask me 2 goals or just 1?
no, just one.
Okay, okay, yeah.
You gave two, but
I
yeah,
gave 2, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So what about you? What's a goal you have?
I'm trying to think of a singular goal because I want all of the stuff we do to be successful. Obviously,
Right.
I want the Screens by Night halfway to Halloween convention to be a success. So we have a year two. I want Vermilion 2, Vortex 2 to be a success. So we have a year three. I want those
Yeah.
things to succeed. I want to continue to have late nights at the state be a success. I mean, they've gone over very well. I mean, pretty
Yeah.
much at least the last two Friday the 13th have like completely sold out. A lot of the other ones have sold out. So I want that to continue throughout the year.
Mhm.
But in terms of the podcast, I
Ooh, Barbara Crampton as a guest. That's a solid goal that I wanna put out there.
I was literally just gonna say that.
Barbara Crampton?
I was gonna say something from Reanimator because I know Reanimator is going through its 40th anniversary next year. I feel
Yeah.
like our podcast revolves around that type of movie quite a bit. I mean, we talk
Yeah.
about cult classic movies all the time.
We're big
We're
into
obviously
80s schlock.
we're
Yeah.
big into 80s schlock. It's an Empire movie, so we have that connection to it as well. Yeah, I would love someone from Reanimator on the podcast. I would love to have
Yes.
Barbara, Jeffrey Combs, Brian Usna. I would love to have someone from that movie on the podcast in 2025, and I think we can make that happen. That's probably one of my big interview goals for the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Very well said.
Sam, last question then.
'Kay.
Out of all the double features that we've done on the podcast this year,
Okay.
what has been your favorite one to both watch and then cover? So we've
Oh,
done.
that's tough.
I just pulled it up. I'm trying to get exact numbers, but I mean, I bet we did probably over 20 for sure double features throughout the year.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's see. I mean, our last one, I'm just gonna plug our last episode. This isn't my answer, but I really did love our Trancers Night of the Comet double feature. That was inspired and such a fun conversation. But I won't do just the random one. Um, you know, oh, okay. So there are a couple of one-offs from each of some of these double features that I've just loved. Um, I don't know. I think my favorite, I'm gonna actually go with A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and Dracula's Daughter. And I say that because like Dracula's Daughter is great too, but A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night blew my freaking mind. Like I'd never seen that before. Um I was fully prepared to have like a 3.5 to a 4-star rating for it. Like it's kind of slow and artsy, I'd heard, and a lot of times that's not my thing. But holy shit, that movie worked for me. And I really loved it. And then to follow it up with like a very queer coded pre-Hays Code vampire movie, like I was like, yeah, just that yeah. So our vampire double feature was great. April was just great too because we did Velocipaster and Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter with Chandra from
Yeah.
shout out to
Yeah.
Film Forager and Fellowship of the Mike Pod. That double feature ruled too. April was just great. April was my favorite month, I think. But we've done so many. I loved when we did the Dark House and Identity, because I hadn't seen
Those
the
were
old
in
Dark
March.
House.
Hold on. Those were in March, right? Yeah.
No, that one it says on here was June.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
June 2nd.
The Dracula's Daughter and then Velocipaster. Those were March.
Oh, were they? Oh, it
Uh-huh.
was. Weird.
Because we did
Okay.
Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood, smack dab between those two.
Oh my god, that's right. It was March, and then we did our Easter episode was Velocipaster and Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. That's right.
I forgot
Um,
we did that on Easter
yeah, we did that
weekend.
literally Easter
We on
weekend.
Good Friday it dropped. Yeah, yeah.
On Good Friday, yeah.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
so yeah, that was great. Yeah, I love doing old Dark House and Identity. Because I hadn't seen Old Dark House, you hadn't seen Identity.
Hmm.
Both of those were movies that we'd been trying to get each other to watch for a while, and they worked really well together too. And that was a fun one to
Yeah.
discuss. So I'd say those are once again I've given way too many answers, but that's it for me. What about you?
No, what's funny?
Huh?
When I thought of this question, I pulled up the list. There was one that stood out immediately of like, yeah, that's the one. And it's
Was it?
Dracula's Daughter and a girl walks home alone at night. That is
Yep.
still one of my favorite episodes that we've ever recorded. I think
Yeah.
it's one of the most inspired double features that we've had on the show. Those two
Mhm.
movies just complement each other so well, and they played together incredibly well. And the discussion we had on both was amazing. So that's definitely
Yeah.
one of my favorites. And then yeah, I'll throw out one more. Another one that's just this one was just fun because
Mhm.
they're not like a deep discussion like we had with The Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and Dracula's Daughter. They're quite the opposite of that. It's when we talked about Terror Vision and Bad Channels with Insane
Yeah,
Mike from Attack of the Killer podcast. Again,
that
two
was one
movies
of them.
that play together so well. They were so much fun. It's one of our highest rated episodes of the year.
Yep.
Our first late night at the States connected to that. So
Yeah.
that's another one of my favorites that we have.
Yep. And Terror Vision, oh my god, like, both of those movies are great, but, like, if you've listened to this podcast in the past year, you still haven't seen Terror Vision, please go
Find it.
watch it. If
Find it.
if you like the kind of movies that we like, you will like Terror Vision, and I'm sure the YouTube rip is still up on it.
I'm sure.
So,
I'm sure.
yeah, check it out. That and
All
Evil
right.
Ed were the 2 late night movies that I watched and immediately was like, "I need this on Blu-ray," and I
I feel
ordered it
like
the night of.
we are now forever connected to Evil Ed. Whether we wanted to or not, we're forever connected to the Swedish Evil Dead ripoff.
I don't mind. I gave that movie an unironic 5 stars, and I stand by that rating. It is a schlock masterpiece, and I love it.
Know what else is a schlock masterpiece? This
This
podcast. So
podcast.
thank you all for joining us in 2024. We hope that you continue to join us in 2025. Like we said, 2024 was easily our biggest year to date. Guess what? 2025 is going to beat it. It just is. Like that's how it goes. We're excited that all of you are along with us for this crazy ride that we're on. So thank you all for
Yeah.
listening, watching, and all of that. Sam, let's get some of our plugs in here before we wrap up this
Yeah.
last episode of the year.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't
Well,
even mention this. We have a Patreon that we
we
launched this year
do.
as well.
We do. Yeah, our Patreon, where you can get a newsletter, a signed 8x10 artwork, bonus episodes, one a month. They're pretty fun. They're a little more laid back and goofy. And we just recorded we're
The one
tier
that
ranking.
it just dropped. It's out on Patreon right now.
It's out on Patreon now. We just dropped our yeah, that's right, because this comes out later. Duh.
Yeah. Shh,
I was
don't
like,
tell them that.
I was like, today? Oh my
Yeah.
god. No, yeah, we just dropped one tier ranking 32 2025 horror releases.
We're going to be eating good in 2025, folks. We're going to be eating
Yeah,
good.
based on our excitement, and there was some contention. It was mostly copacetic, but there was some contention. Um, and yeah, that was massively fun and went way longer than our Patreon bonuses usually do. So that was a good time to hop on that and get your money's worth. So yeah, there will be written reviews, at least 2 a month, and Casey will be doing vlogs, channeling all of his cool stuff and showing you all of his cool stuff.
Showing off all the cool stuff. Yeah, just
Yeah.
go to patreon.com/screams from the basement or scan the QR code on your screen or go to the link in the episode description.
Yeah. And if you haven't already, you should subscribe to this podcast wherever you get podcasts, specifically Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star rating. You can write us a review. We might even read it on the podcast. Just be nice about it, you know?
Or be mean and leave a 5-star review, and then we'll definitely read it on the podcast.
Yeah. Feel like we're opening a can of worms with that one, but I will do it.
That's fine with me.
You can also check out our merch at our TeePublic store. Just go to teepublic.com, search Screams from the Basement, and get some cool swag that shows your support for us. We've got a ton of cool designs that both Casey and I have done, and there will be more in 2025. We'll probably be doing quite a few merch things, especially in the build up to halfway to Halloween, I feel like. Because yeah, I'm working on some cool stuff. We're gonna be dropping some pretty dope merch designs. So yeah, check that out.
And then you can find us on the social media. If you're on the social media like all those kids are, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. I almost said X. We're not on that shitstorm anymore. Instead, you can find us on Blue Sky, the better place to send out your tweets. Blue Sky should just take that. Tweets belong to Blue Sky now. And then we're also on Threads and on TikTok as well. Just find us at Screams in the Basement on all of those platforms under various tags, because some of them are just don't allow all of Screams from the Basement because their name is really long.
Yeah, it is a really long name, but it's the one we came up with, so we're stuck with it.
We're stuck with it. We're stuck with being the Basement Boys.
Better than some of the other names that we came up with at the start of the show.
Yeah, we should just do a whole episode on the terrible names that we came. Well, some of them were good. It's just that all of them were taken at that time. But
yeah.
Sam, do you have any other final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
No, just everybody that's been listening, everybody that's come out to events, everybody that's just said hi and interacted with us. As Screams from the Basement, like it means the world to us. You've made our 2024 really special. You've helped us realize that this is something that we can build and grow and turn into something really cool. And so we hope you stick with us through 2025 because we've got some cool stuff in the works. So thank you everybody for tuning in. As always, sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.